Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Jason, Certified Financial Planner and host of Fighting Words Financial. Let's talk about Tesla again. Look, on Battery Day, September 22nd, 2020, Tesla will remake the world. I know that's a big statement to make, and I know some people are here really for the stock prediction, so I'm not going to keep you guys in any suspense whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and make my stock prediction, but before I do that, I do need to say that I am a real certified financial planner. I'm not making recommendations via YouTube. This is not aimed at any individual. This is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any stock whatsoever. Make your own decisions, do your own research, and come to your own conclusions. But here is my conclusion. Now, I don't generally talk about stock valuations, but I am going to make one big prediction right here. I'm not going to keep you guys in any suspense. Tesla will end up being admitted to the S&P 500. That's going to happen. Tesla will also end up being admitted one day to the Dow 30, right? They're going to be on that, and there's no doubt in my mind. Within a decade of being admitted, Tesla will be the largest component of either one of those indexes. That is my prediction. All right, folks, now that the discussion about Tesla's stock price and how it's going to go through the roof is over, let's move on to how Tesla is going to change the world. Now, I don't generally talk about politics at all on this channel. It's not that I don't think about politics at all. I do, but I don't do it on this channel. But for today, we are going to talk a little bit about the geopolitical world and energy production. All right, folks, so before we talk about Tesla remaking the world in a geopolitical sense, let's talk about the leak that just came out last Friday, and I'm talking about the leak of the supposed Tesla battery cell from the Roadrunner secret project. So I linked an article in the community tab, and I'm going to put one in the description of this video too, but the original image was linked by Electrek, and there were some comments made on that, and Elon Musk, in a tweet, did not deny any of the conclusions that were made in the article. He basically said, hey, it's going to be really, really insane. It's going to be really mind-blowing. So it's pretty clear now that the price parity prediction that I made, that I considered to be mind-blowing, merely from a financial motivation angle for the consumer alone, that's going to happen. But that prediction just didn't go far enough. And I don't think I communicated that very well in my last video about Tesla and Battery Day. And maybe I'm not a good communicator at all. But it's not going to be immediately obvious, and it may take a decade for us to fully realize the implications. But after September 22nd, it's going to be apparent how Tesla has remade the world, the auto industry, the energy industry, and geopolitics to a degree. They are never going to be the same. The original prediction that I made had to do with price parity, and I'm still sticking to that, between battery electric vehicles and internal combustion engines. But there's a lot of ancillary effects from having, battery electric vehicles and internal combustion engines be the same price, or even having battery electric vehicles being a lower price than their internal combustion counterparts. Going from approximately $130 per kilowatt hour, where prices currently are for a battery, to under $100 per kilowatt hour. While very impressive, it is something that likely could be achieved with a cumulative series of small engineering and manufacturing improvements without any major changes to battery chemistry or any great technological leaps. And aside from other leaks, that looks like that part of the equation has already been achieved. In fact, it looks like my prediction of them being nearly under $100 per kilowatt hour is probably going to overshoot the mark by quite a bit. I'm hearing estimates now of somewhere between $50 and $60 per kilowatt hour for the new batteries that are coming out, which is really truly revolutionary. And it means that future battery electric vehicles will be cheaper than their internal combustion counterparts. Now, perhaps I was too narrowly focused in my last video to get this point across. There's a lot more going on with this development than merely making cars as cheap as internal combustion vehicles. If you're talking to someone like your friends or your stockbrokers who think that Tesla is a really cool car company that has great technology, that's really the wrong way to look at the company, and the person that you're talking to probably doesn't really have a very good understanding of Tesla. You can't really make a comparison to Ford or GM. Ford and GM are making millions of vehicles per year and selling them. Tesla just passed the 300,000 mark for vehicles last year, and that was actually really incredible for them. But Tesla is not really a car company. It's not really an auto manufacturer. Tesla is a technology company that happens to make cars. Tesla has their hand in energy production right now with Solar City. They have their hands in battery research. They're on the forefront of energy storage solutions. They're on the forefront of artificial intelligence. And Elon Musk's overall goal isn't necessarily to create a battery electric vehicle. It's to end the fossil fuel economy and replace it with a sustainable energy economy. Tesla is going to and seeks to fundamentally change the relationships that nations have and that civilization has really with energy production and storage. And it's going to happen in ways that are impossible to predict and aren't going to be very obvious when it's announced, and it's going to remake geopolitics. Advancements in energy storage technology are actually far more important than just merely having a car with longer range. Cheaper energy storage, longer life batteries, and recycling capacity for batteries is going to have an effect on the power grid as well. Across the United States, and I assume across Europe as well, power is actually pretty poorly managed. States like California pay other states to take their electricity because of poor grid management. In the summertime, California already makes more energy than it can use through solar and wind generation. We simply haven't made the investments in energy storage and grid management that we should have. We haven't done that here in California, and really have not done that worldwide. And as society has realized that there is now a solution for energy storage, it's going to trigger more investments in solar, wind, and other types of green energy, perhaps even hydrogen production. Now, it's not that I was planning to throw a bone to Trevor Milton and Nicola in this video, but if excess solar capacity is managed properly and stored, it might actually make sense to use hydrogen as a transportable energy storage solution. If I gave the impression in any of my last videos that I'm anti-hydrogen, I apologize for that, and I actually don't think it's possible to be anti one of the most abundant elements on the planet. That's not the case. Hydrogen has a future. There are many countries, Japan foremost among them, that are making some big bets on hydrogen, and I don't think it's going to be long before we start to see hydrogen being produced from excess solar and wind capacity in a form that's going to be transportable. In a really weird way, Battery Day and its implications for energy storage from the grid might be the catalyst that eventually spurs a new infrastructure for hydrogen production and storage as well. All right, guys, on to my main point here. Why is this so important for geopolitics? So the need for petroleum is not going to go away overnight. We're still going to have internal combustion engines. We're still going to need it to produce high quality plastics. And I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but natural gas is used in the production of fertilizer. That's something that's not going away anytime soon. But Battery Day and the advances in storage technology are probably the strike to the jugular that the carbon economy is simply not going to recover from. It probably means the eventual end of the internal combustion engine for your daily driver, and it also means the end of political relevance for a large portion of the world. It's going to cause a permanent shift or possibly even the end of the energy wars. Oh, you didn't know that we're in an era of energy wars? Well, really, folks, fuel supply logistics have been a major cause of human misery in the last century. Conflicts in the last 100 years have really been about two things: ideology and access to energy that countries need to fuel their economies. Fuel is the first thing that a nation needs to build a modern economy. If you aren't fortunate enough to be sitting on top of a huge supply of petroleum or a huge supply of natural gas, or you cannot guarantee a cheap supply of it, you're at a disadvantage on the world stage. Coal was the energy source that fueled the Industrial Revolution in Europe and the Americas. World War II was fought with and over petroleum supplies. The German invasion of Romania was entirely about controlling the Ploiești oil fields, and I hope for my Romanian watchers that I pronounced Ploiești correctly, and securing a fuel source for mechanized warfare. The British invasion of Iran in that same time period was about denying oil supplies to Germany and securing it for themselves. The Japanese invasion of the Dutch East Indies was all about securing access to embargoed oil supplies. Entire campaigns in World War II were fought to deny the Axis fuel supplies and to secure them for the Allies. Now, it's no secret that access to energy in the form of oil drove the West's involvement in the Middle East and almost a century of conflict as various nations and factions sought to control and exploit the supply. We are still involved in a modern era of 21st century energy wars today. Now, there's a patina of historical antagonisms over conflicts raging today from Nigeria to Ukraine, but these conflicts are really about control over the most valuable resource and principal income source that these nations have. Now, most people are familiar with American involvement in the Middle East, but here's a conflict that you might not have thought of very much. The European Union is heavily dependent on Russia for both crude oil and natural gas to fuel their economies. Russia is the main provider of crude oil and natural gas and solid fossil fuels to the EU. Up to 39% of natural gas in the EU is piped from Russia, who can cut off that supply at any time. Energy products account for 60% of total EU imports from Russia. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline that's under construction right now, that the US and certain other countries oppose, is only going to make the EU more dependent on Russian energy exports. European Union dependence on Russian natural gas is fueling conflict in Eastern Europe today. In the case of the Ukrainian civil war, there are certainly historical grievances to be played on, but make no mistake, the Russian takeover of the Crimea and its warm water ports and the fomenting of revolution and rebellion and civil war in eastern Ukraine is primarily fueled by Russia's desire to control the supply of fossil fuels that are being sold to the European Union, and that is the principal reason for Russian involvement in the Ukrainian civil war. Using oil and natural gas as a weapon of political compliance, either domestically or internationally, is one major way that countries like Russia or many other countries in the Middle East have an outsized effect on geopolitics and conflict that's not proportional to the size of their economies or their actual importance on the international stage. We just happen to live in an energy-centric world where control and delivery of oil and gas resources translates into real political clout for countries that control fossil fuels, and it translates to insecurity for countries that don't. Apart from their control over fossil fuels, there is no reason for countries like Saudi Arabia or Russia to be global superpowers. Their economies and political importance are quite insignificant without them. Battery Day is hopefully going to be remembered as the beginning of the end of what will probably be known by historians in the future as the energy war or the era of energy wars. Creating energy storage solutions for excess grid production alone has the potential to turn the energy market on its head. Any country with plentiful sunshine, wind, or other alternative energy means will now be able to reduce their dependence on energy imports. With new energy storage technology, folks in power are now going to be more interested in investing in smart electrical grid management and energy storage technologies. We could possibly see a shift in energy production to oil-poor places with plentiful sunshine, places like Australia, Morocco, or even Arizona. In the future, it's entirely possible that a country like Morocco could be building giant solar farms to supply their own grid and use their excess capacity to create and export compressed hydrogen gas to countries, for example, like Belgium, that have no oil, no gas, and really no sunshine for solar energy. All right, folks, so if the wild predictions about the capabilities of Tesla's new batteries are true, the implications go much further than merely cheaper and more efficient vehicles, right? It really represents an eventual remaking of the current geopolitical world order in ways that we can't really predict at this time. In that way, I think that Tesla is not only going to blow your mind on Battery Day, it's going to represent a historic shift in the way humans relate to energy production. Anyway, folks, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you next time.